just enough to coat the bottom. When I make this commercially, I measure it out very precisely, but at home, you're just going to estimate, and it comes out just great. And I think I'm just going to make 2, and I'm going to put the rest of the batter, which is just a tiny little bit, in here. I like to use a silicone spatula because the nature of the dough being so sticky, it adheres very nicely to this. Oops. All right. Spread it around a little bit. And now it comes time to proof the bread. I'm going to put it in my oven that I have just slightly warm. Maybe it's 150 degrees. And I'm going to check it in about 20 minutes. I mentioned proofing, and I wanted to elaborate because not everybody bakes bread and is familiar with the term or what you actually have to watch for when you're doing the cooking. Proofing basically means rising, and there's really no specific time that I can give you that the bread needs to rise because it depends on the warmth of the environment that the bread is in. If I put on my oven very low and then shut my oven off and open the door, and it's just nice and warm, which is what I like to do, then I can put my bread in there, and sometimes in 15 minutes it's ready. Other times, if you want to put it on a higher shelf, maybe there's a little kitchen heat lamp or something, it could take 45 minutes. But the bottom line is that you want to make sure the bread rises to the top and has a little bit of a hill, not flat and not really high, because if you let it rise too much while it's raw, it's going to start to flop over the edges. And then all of the dough on the edges, it's kind of funny. It tastes good and crunchy, but you can't really use it as a piece of bread. And then the center won't be as high. So you just want to rise it just till it's a little bit of a hill. Then you put it in the oven and it's going to bake and rise a little bit more, and then it's perfect to eat. All right, I baked bread already, and so I wanted to show you a loaf that comes out. When you take the bread out of the oven nice and warm, obviously you'll have your mitts on, and you'll want to take your bread and put it on the side, and you'll want to put it on a wire rack, a rack like this. You want to make sure air can get all around the loaf. If you leave the bread in the pans, it's going to form some condensation, and the moisture interferes with the texture of the bread, and it's not very good. So you just basically put this out here, and I would let the bread cool for a good hour, maybe 2 hours before you even slice it. Then it's totally ready to go. At that point, you could either slice it all, which you can do by hand, or a little bread guide, which I have, it doesn't really matter, and then wrap it up, or you can put little pieces of wax paper between the pieces and put it in the freezer in an airtight container or an airtight bag with, really wrap it well and pop them out one by one. That way it lasts a nice long time. But in any event, you'll find your own comfort of what you'd like. Now I'd like to talk about what makes this bread different. Most gluten-free bread, if you've been on a gluten-free diet or done your experimentation, is hard, dense, crumbly, and dry. If you pop it in the toaster, you have to toast it, butter it, eat it right away, otherwise it's just not real edible. It's no way you can just make a sandwich in the morning for lunch later on and eat it later on. My bread is different, and I think that's why people are excited about it. As you can see, you can bend this bread, and it doesn't break. It's just like a piece of wheat bread. If you can see, I'm just going to pull it apart, and you can see how moist, how stretchy it is. It's just delicious and totally can be made into a sandwich later on. Okay, that concludes Arnel's Good and Gluten-Free Bread. I hope you enjoy the video and that you are confident enough to try a mix of your own. Thank you. Enjoy. What makes this Good and Gluten-Free bread different from other breads out there is, if you've had experience with other gluten-free bread, you know that it tends to be dry, crumbly, very dense, and you have to put it in the toaster, and as soon as it's toasted, put on butter and eat it right away. There's no way you can make a sandwich for later. It's just not palatable. Well, this bread is soft. You can bend it, move it, and if you can see as I pull it apart, it's just delicious. Especially when it comes right out of the oven. Try it. I think you're going to love it. While I'm chewing, I'd like to reintroduce Linda. She's my friend and personal chef, and I'd like you to share a little bit about yourself, your profession, and why you like my bread.
Well, the most important thing is the bread. So in terms of history, I've been a personal chef for about 7 or 8 years. I have a little bit of background in baking, cooking, pretty much preparing anything that needs to be prepared. So I've baked a lot of bread. For me, when I'm baking bread, it's the smell when it comes out of the oven. And this bread, the minute it starts to cook, it smells just like a regular loaf of bread. And I'm sorry, Arnel, but we can't wait an hour for it to cool. When it comes out of the oven, I bring it out and I sort of hover over it and look at it and think, when is it cool enough for me to touch so that I can cut a piece? So as I was baking a loaf yesterday, I waited, maybe 20 minutes, and we cut into it, and my daughter and I slathered some butter on it, and we just eat it just like that. So you can cool it and do the sandwich thing, which is really great. But the other thing that was really important to me about this bread, not only because my family's enjoying it, we love it so much, is that we have very good friends who have a daughter who has celiac disease. And celiac disease is a very serious condition if their daughter ever gets any wheat in her system. So there is no question whether she can have wheat or not. There is absolutely no wheat in her diet. So for me, when you began to develop this bread, I knew it was going to be something I wanted to share with my friends. So I have made a couple loaves, and again, I thought I was going to make the loaf and take it to them as a gift and a treat, and I had to cut into it myself. So oftentimes I can't wait. So for me, this is going to be a really important ingredient, a really important product to have out there for people who have serious conditions that need a gluten-free diet. So I'm really happy to have the product. I know my friends will be too. So thank you.
I remember the first time you made a loaf and you emailed me. You want to tell them a little bit about what you wrote in there?
Well, it was the same situation where I was making it thinking that I was going to give it to my friends. And we were in a situation in Santa Barbara where we were hunkering down during the fire. This most recent fire in Santa Barbara, and I wanted to do something comforting for my family, and I knew that you had given me this package, and I had it in my freezer, which was really great. I could pull it out, let it warm on the counter a little bit, and then be able to prepare it. And so it was later in the evening, and I went ahead and made it and sliced it and ate it, and I was in gluten-free heaven. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I love to cook. I love people eating what I cook. I love being creative, as you are as well, and it just warms my heart that you like it so much, and so many people are encouraging me to get it out there so you can try it and maybe enhance your life with the Good and Gluten-Free bread. Thank you.
Thanks, Arnel.